All righty, welcome back to For St. Pete's Sake. My name is Christian Hotchkiss. I am your host. I am the president of the Stonewall Democrats of Pinellas County. I am joined, as always, by Laura Gherkin, my vice president and co-host, and amazing, just all-around person. Laura, how are you?
I'm doing well, Christian. How are you doing today? This is, the start of our season 2. It's our second year of the pod. So, yeah.
Yes, we took a
Yay.
little time off for the holidays, so we're back and we're going to try to grow this as big as we can and I think we're starting the year off in a very good way because our guest, I don't know if people know this woman just by her face, but they can see her name. Our guest today is phenomenal. She is a champion for environmental rights. She is a champion for LGBTQ rights. She is a champion for all the positive things in the world. I can't say enough good things about this woman. I have enjoyed meeting her, spending time with her on her campaign. She's come to a couple of our meetings before. She's been absolutely lovely. Give it up for Representative Lindsay Cross. There's
Hey
applause.
there. I've even done karaoke with you. I did karaoke with you
Yes.
too.
That's right. You were at
Uh,
our fun karaoke outing.
Yeah.
And you sang, what song did you sing? I forget. It was such a blur for me.
I don't even know. It was like someone put a song on and I was like, I'll just do it.
I think
Give me
it
the
was, I'm
mic.
pretty sure it was something ABBA. I think it was something ABBA, if I'm
Okay.
remembering correctly.
Wouldn't normally be my choice, but that's okay.
Well, it was still a fantastic time, and we're so thankful that you joined us. So,
Yeah.
Reb, I want to
Yeah.
hand the floor over to you. I want to give you an opportunity to introduce yourself, give a little bit of your background, things like that. Tell us whatever you want to know.
All right. Well, I'm Representative Lindsay Cross. I represent District 60 in Pinellas County. It includes parts of St. Pete, Pinellas Park, and Lilman. Easy way to think of it is it's generally all the areas north of downtown, north of USF St. Pete, and east of US 19. So it includes neighborhoods like Old Northeast, Shore Acres, Snell Isle, Riviera Bay, and then it goes west over into Pinellas Park over to 49th Street there.
Yeah.
Perfect. That
Yes,
really
it's a
does
good
paint a
district.
nice little picture for us. Thank you for that.
Yeah. Yeah. I love Old Northeast too. Or Old Northeast is beautiful.
Oh, for sure.
Yes.
Yes.
So I've been a resident of this district for over 20 years. I'm an environmental scientist and have been able to have a long career in the public, the private, and the nonprofit sector, working to help develop conservation management plans, improve water quality, make sure that public and lawmakers are educated about what we need to do to have a clean and healthy Tampa Bay, to conserve natural areas, to make more parks, to, keep things like golf courses out of our parks, like we saw last year. So there's a lot of exciting work that I've been able to do. And that was one of the main reasons why I ran for the legislature, is because I wanted to bring my experience and background up to the state house, because there's not a lot of scientists that are in office. And we've got a lot of critical issues, whether it's things like vaccines or how to deal with, health emergencies, or, keeping our waters clean, that it's important to have scientists and bring that real world experience.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
absolutely, especially considering the area that we're in here in St. Pete and, Snell Isle deals with is we deal with more climate change, more
Hmm.
flooding and whatnot that we deal
Yeah.
with in your
Hmm.
district too. So that's very important to have, that eye on it that comes front to it from a science perspective. I think that's super important. And you're right. That's, critical thinking skills for scientists are that scientists has are sorely missing in places in our representatives right
Yes.
now.
Yes.
So
Yeah. People used
And
to trust scientists and doctors, and, it's kind of going in the wrong direction. But we need to
yeah.
bring that trust back in science.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, I definitely want to talk about your background a little bit and what you're planning to do. But if you don't mind first, I think we want to go over a little bit of hot topics that have happened recently and get some thoughts and some discussion going. So I think I'm going to start out with like maybe what's the biggest right now and what's going on with Venezuela. Because our dictator went down to Venezuela and kidnapped their dictator and then installed his vice dictator into the presidency. Whereas we have Machado, who won the election by 71, 72%, something like that.
No, not oh, Marchado. I thought you
Machado.
said Mara I'm sorry, Mercado, yes. Sorry.
Yes. Yes. So she won the election rightly via the name that was on the ballot. We all know that situation. Um, and we all know it's not about drugs because Venezuela does not at all contribute to the fentanyl issue. So I'm going to open up the floor. Representative, love to get your comments. What do you think is going on and what the fuck?
Well, I just think generally this administration is abusing its powers. When you look at situations like this, you look at the Doge effort, having an unelected person come in and dismantle our government, some of just the massive overhauls of some of the policies and the programs that have been instrumental in keeping us, the country that we are in the land of opportunity, whether it's environmental protections or attempts to reduce subsidies for the Affordable Care Act, and really having unchecked power. I think that's just the most concerning thing. And so we can point to a lot of examples of where this federal administration is abusing power, and I think that's trickled down to the state level as well. When you see our
Yeah.
governor who is using his emergency powers related to a state of emergency related to immigration to do things like develop the prison in the Everglades, which was
Mhm.
coined Alligator Alcatraz. I think nearly $1 billion of money has been funneled to that. A lot of that is no bid contracts. So those type of checks and balances where we used to have people in both parties who were able to, make statements and call out atrocities or places where our leaders were not being judicious with their powers. We've lost a lot of that. And I think that's one of the things that's most concerning, particularly as we just, recognize the fifth anniversary of January 6th
Mm.
and going back and looking at the photos and the footage of that. We really are, walking this tight line, this tightrope in maintaining our democracy because it has become more fragile, and the more we allow things to happen without standing up and having people in with the ability to call out some of those things and have consequences for those actions, we're going to find ourselves in a very different place, and I think a different country than all of us would like to be.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. And that's, speaking of one of the things that you mentioned that was down here in Florida, the alligator Alcatraz, there are, by some reports, up to 1,800 missing men from that facility. Like, that's one of the things that just blows my mind because it's because of the rest of the bananasness that has gone on, the Epstein files, the Venezuela, the shooting today in Minneapolis of an unarmed woman in a car. Like, there's always something more every day. Like, people just forget about it. But that, to me, those are people that have just been disappeared from what I understand. Like, no, there's no federal register of them, and like, because that's a federal thing, like, the federal and the state are just like pointing fingers at each other for where did these men go.
Yep. Yep. It's
Yeah,
absolutely
and it
ridiculous.
just
It's
I
absolutely
mean, I
awful.
just yeah.
I don't know what's going on there, and I only hope that we get a next administration. I hope that we get a next Congress actually coming November where we get a leader Jeffries. So maybe we could have some oversight. But then I really hope that in 2028 we get a good leader that will actually investigate all of these actions and figure out what's going on and prosecute these people the way they should be. Because the fact that that many people, that many human beings with inalienable rights in our Constitution, anybody here, whether they're legal or not, they have certain rights in our Constitution. And so I really hope we get someone that's gonna prosecute these people the way that they need to be.
And I mean, you can say that on the state level as well with, the governor and his wife's charity and, that just funneling how many millions of dollars away from Medicaid to that. Like, that's going unpunished, unchecked on anything right now because of the supermajority that Republicans have.
Yeah. No.
I can only hope that we
And,
get a Governor
that's something
Jolly.
that, yeah, be great to have a Pinellas Pinellas guy up there fighting for us.
Absolutely, and I think I interrupted you.
I mean, I
I'm
know,
sorry.
and
What were
like
you
there's
gonna say?
so many. Oh, okay, go
I think
ahead.
I think we got a little bit of a lag.
Yeah, I think so. We're good. We can move on.
Okay.
Alrighty.
Well, and I know, and that's like the thing that there is so much going on that it's hard to keep the picture of what's going on right in front of you in your state and your city. Um, and I'm the vice president for Stonewall, but I'm also the legislative director for the state LGBTQ caucus. And so, obviously watching their it's high time for legislation season now, and just the harmful stuff that I'm just seeing on our report that we run, and that we're getting equal reports from Equality Florida on. What I guess that's my question to you is like what can we do to help you and support you in your position in as a state house rep to like better, help help anything stop these bills like why do they care? Why do they care? Supposedly conservatives care about like home rule, except for like when the mayor of St. Pete wants to put on a pride flag under the state flag and the city flag. Like what I just like where does it end?
Yeah. So I think the idea of home rule is something that Republicans, I think we can say that they used to support that because their actions demonstrate that they don't. And I think we've seen such a shift in the Republican Party that some of those ideals, smaller government, more power for the local governments, those things that were just, part of being a Republican or a conservative, we've lost those things. And you find that the Democrats are always the ones that are talking about common sense things about, there's no one size fits all in a state of nearly 23 million people and 67 counties, which, Miami-Dade County is a lot different than Gadsden County or Jefferson County. So we can't treat all of them the same. Um, but there's just such pressure in the supermajority in Tallahassee to just fall in line. You'd be amazed at the conversations that you'll have with people in private, in the cafeteria or in their office about things that they don't like, but they're not allowed to vote their conscience or to vote the way they think their constituents would actually like because there's retribution. And, as a Democrat in the super minority, we got to work twice, three times as hard. It's kind of like, um, Fred Astaire and was it Greta
Ginger
Garbo?
Rogers.
She did it, but backwards in heels. It's
Yep.
kind of like how the Democrats are. We've got to do, or maybe it was Ginger Rogers.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's what I think so.
wrong cinema star of the golden era. But we got to work harder. But we also have the privilege of being able to vote our conscience and truly do what the people have sent us up to Tallahassee to do.
Absolutely.
My wonder, and it's, I never would want to put you in the brain of, some of those conservatives that you work with because ooh, scary. But I do wonder Trump is a lame duck. He, constitutionally is not allowed to run for president again. So, like, there is that. And DeSantis doesn't have, the national zhuzh that everyone thought he was gonna have until anyone talked to him for more than 5 minutes. So, like, I guess, like, where are those pressure points coming from? Once DeSantis isn't governor anymore, I mean, I don't even know who all is running on the Republican side. The only only one person I know so far that likes to clip our podcast. So, um,
Hi, shout out to them.
yeah, but I don't know. Like, do we see that like that power dissipating a little bit and like becoming like a Medusa, like more like different heads, or is it still just going to be one concentrated head? Because I don't know who's going to hold that coalition together.
Yeah, that's a great question. I don't think we can answer that. We're just days away from the start of the 60-day legislative session, which starts on January 13th. And I think most people believe that next year it won't be as chaotic or acrimonious, but we don't know who will ultimately get elected. I think if David Jolly or Democrat is elected, then certainly the environment and the focus would be much different than under the Republican rule that we've had for multiple decades. Um, However, we don't know what the makeup is of the House and the Senate are going to be. Each 2 years, we have a new leader in both of those chambers that bring their own objectives, their own leadership style, their their ability to collaborate or maybe to be argumentative. And so there's
Variables.
so many different machinations of that I think you have to wait until you're in that moment to see that. But I think that the governor and the president are going to continue to put pressure on those in elected positions to do their bidding. We've got several more years of the president, and so I wouldn't say that his power is waning yet.
Yeah,
The American
yeah.
people are certainly frustrated with a lot of his policies, and you know the the fact that he doesn't really think affordability is an issue. He's never, like, done his own grocery shopping. Like,
Literally never.
he's clearly not in touch with the American people, and all that's happened since he came into office is a misuse of power, and the cost of everything has gone up.
Well, yeah, absolutely. And I think we're actually starting to see some cracks in the Trumpism MAGA world. I mean, if we look at people like Marjorie Taylor Greene, who is, I'm not going to give her any sort of credit other than the fact that she's calling out Trump for what he's doing. I don't like her. I don't respect her. I don't think that
Right.
she has truly changed from who she was 3 years ago. But I can appreciate that she is calling out the president on the fact that everything that he campaigned on, he's gone backwards on. He was the no new wars. He was release the Epstein files. He was reduce the cost of living, bring gas down, way down. Now, right now it's down, of
Well,
course, but it's the
they
holidays.
worked out gas, but
Well, we all know that during the holidays, gas does go down. So I truly, is it him
well,
or is it, you
it's
know?
also yeah, right, for
But,
sure. Yeah,
he also claims that we're gonna own 8% of Venezuela's gas or whatever,
right.
oil. So, I do think we're starting to see some cracks, even in people that I talk to on a regular basis. People are starting to lighten up and it's not just the president, people are also starting to, enlighten themselves about the governor here and the super majority that we have, and the fact that they've done nothing for the rising cost of living here in Florida. They've done nothing for the insane costs for home insurance, for the environment here. They're still letting Big Sugar go do whatever they want into the Bay. And I think that we are starting to see some cracks. I don't know if we're going to get them soon enough, but I hope that more and more people wake up as soon as possible.
Yeah, people
So,
people vote with their wallet.
Yeah,
mhm,
yeah.
absolutely.
They
So
do.
I think this is a great segue because we're talking about the legislative session coming up, and I want to get some of your views and some of your policies that you brought up. You filed a couple of bills. Talk to us about them. Tell us what they are, and tell us what your goals are for this legislative session coming up.
Yeah. So, we've got all of our bills filed, thank goodness. Filing deadline is tomorrow, so we got in a day early.
Love that.
These things take a while. I've got some bills that I've sponsored before, plus several new ones. Um, Probably the main way to describe them, it's very similar to the mix that I've had before, with a few of them related to the environment, a few related to natural disasters, emergencies, preparedness and response, affordable housing, child welfare. So yeah, a good mix of them. One of them that we just filed is called the Manta Protection Act, and so it looks at the practice of allowing for endangered or threatened marine animal species like giant manta rays or
Mhm.
sharks to be taken from Florida waters, transported, and then living the rest of their life in an aquarium or in some type of, education or exhibition purpose. And so a lot of people saw a viral video this summer of a giant manta ray being captured off the coast of Panama City that was ultimately transported over to the Middle East to SeaWorld Abu Dhabi. Um, and this is something that is legal. It's allowable at the state level through the
Great.
Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission. And so we're calling for reforms in making and ending that practice for endangered and threatened marine animals because
Yeah,
they're just too valuable in their natural environment and they deserve to live their life in their natural habitat.
for
I've got
sure.
another bill that would look at the importance of corals for their intrinsic value, but also in areas where they're closer to our coastline. They are very effective at reducing wave energy from storms,
Mhm.
so they can provide a barrier during hurricanes. I think nearly 90% of wave action is dissipated if it's going over a coral reef. So they're really important in terms of what's considered like green infrastructure. But there's been a lot of impacts to our coral, and some of these species, like the staghorn, are close to extinction, and at least in our local areas. And there's been significant destruction to corals from projects like the expansion of the Port of Miami. And so this would put some more guardrails, some reforms in how those practices happen, because corals are really slow growing
Mhm.
animals. They build ecosystems. Most of the fish that we like to eat or fish, if they're out in the marine environment, spend some time on a coral reef. So they're just critical to the whole food chain, to the whole ecosystem. And then another bill around wastewater. So essentially, Florida, depending on where you live, your wastewater is treated to a different level because of kind of a patchwork of policies that have been implemented over decades, usually in response to, you know, horrible water quality pollution. But it's really hard for the public and even lawmakers to find out that basic information about, like, how well is my water being treated? Where is
Yeah,
it going? Is it in a vulnerable area if there's going to be a storm or a hurricane?
right.
Could this area flood like we saw in the 4 hurricanes in St. Petersburg, where several of the sewage treatment plants were shut off because their electrical was at a lower elevation? And if it flooded, the entire plant would have gone down for days or weeks. So there's basic information that lawmakers need to make better decisions about long term policies, about what level of treatment we should be at, where we should be investing our money. Right now, we don't have a plan for that. And there's really no transparency or accountability on the public's end. So that's something I'm looking forward to filing on the environmental side. Moving into some more elections or emergency related things, a bill to safeguard elections after emergencies. So making sure that there's adequate opportunities for people to vote if their area has been damaged during a natural disaster, for example. So, if a polling location is not accessible or it's not safe, is there another polling location that's being designated? Can we expand early voting or vote by mail? those are some of the things that we want to see put into action so that if you are a homeowner or a business, if you get impacted by a natural disaster, you're trying to literally rebuild your life. The last thing you should have to be worried about is if your vote will count or if you have the opportunity to vote. And then
Absolutely.
another policy I'm working on, I think is a really common sense one. It's how to get more people to permit, um, building permits and inspections after emergencies because, some people are still waiting for their permits. And, you know, our cities and our counties can't be overstaffed when we don't have emergencies, but they need creative ways to bring more people in to supplement their, long-term staff. So we've got a bill that I'm sponsoring with Senator DeSigley that would look at how we can bring in contractors, um, and people from the private sector get trained up in our Florida or our local building code standards so that they can supplement, they can work alongside our existing permitting staff, make sure people can get back into their homes sooner.
That's so interesting because I was gonna ask if you've read A Book Abundance. Okay. Oh, okay, that was the Ezra Klein. I can't the name of the other author escapes me. They did that, post the 2024 election? Yeah, I'm like, "Oh gosh, that is that long ago now? Sorry." I just had like, "Oh my gosh, it's
Yeah.
2026." But they wrote that post the election and just like what the problem with the Democratic Party is and like why that messaging and issue statements don't resonate. And like part of it is that we now are seen as the party of bureaucracy, of like red tape and whatever. And so one of the things is like, especially in California, it's, like, just so hard to build housing because permitting's so hard. So that's what I was gonna ask you is, like, where do you fall on that abundance debate of, like, how do you balance the critical it needs of, like, safety in the environment with the critical needs of your constituents and the, economy of the area?
Yeah. Well, I'm trying to, address, I think, areas that other representatives are not tackling. And with my background, I'm you know, suited to do some of these environmental policies. Hurricanes Helene and Milton gave me a lot of firsthand knowledge of ways that we could do things better. Um, looking at housing, I've got a housing bill. It's called transit oriented development. And really, the idea is that when you're building transit, for it to be successful, you need to have ridership. And for housing, to give people options, you need to have transportation options. And so the best way to develop around major transportation hubs and lines is to have more density close to where those transportation corridors are, you know. So this would allow for some increases in height and density in the appropriate areas close to where people are getting onto a bus or in some future getting onto a train to get over to Tampa or, something like that. And just making sure that we concentrate it in the right places and maintain choices for people so that if you want to live in a lower density, suburban area, there will continue to be those places. But for someone who doesn't want to have a an automobile or maybe doesn't have the ability to walk, they're elderly or they can't afford a car. Um, we need to give them other options and make it something that is really accessible for them.
Yeah, I really think our public transit system, just in general in the US, but specifically here in Florida, it's absolutely awful. I don't understand. Like, I'm in Hernando County right now, and a lot of the buses don't even have ramps that people can get on. There's no sort of public transportation other than the bus, which is what it's called here in Hernando. Um, but again, it's not accessible as it should be. And even in Tampa and Pinellas, we have the trains, and there's been the rumors of the high speed rail coming over to Tampa, but we don't know what's going on with that. Just in general, St. Pete specifically, it's growing at a rate so big or so fast that it's just unable to keep up with, and we're not getting any support from Tallahassee in order to build what we need to build. Um, so I'm really glad to hear that like public transportation and housing and things like that are a focus of yours, on top of all of the environmental stuff. Um, because it's really, really important. And I think that again, we're only getting bigger, especially in Pinellas County, and we need the infrastructure, and we need to safeguard our beauty and our environment as much as we can as we grow.
Yeah, they are doing, they're mapping Tampa right now, downtown Tampa. I don't know how much they're doing in Tampa. I don't know with if they're gonna cross the bridge, but they're mapping them for Waymo right now, which just drives me insane because 'cause I'm like, Americans will do anything but public transportation. You will be in a driverless ass car, but do it all together in the same driverless car. Like, come
Yeah.
on, I can't like oh, it just drives me nuts. It just drives me nuts. But so yeah, the transportation issue. And then like it is like I know I dated a lady that lived in Palm Harbor but had to worked in Largo and didn't have a car. So like trying to figure that out on public transportation was just like she's like it okay, I can spend 3.5 hours going on buses
Yeah.
or I could just Uber. I'm like,
Mhm.
"It's so expensive." She's like, "It's that or my time." I don't know. I'm like, "That's true."
Yeah. Yep. A lot of trade-offs that people have to make.
Yeah, for sure. Well, should we transition into our shout out or shut down section now? I think it would be a good time.
Sure.
Awesome. So for those who haven't joined us before, we have our shout out or shut down. That is an opportunity to shout out something that's awesome or fun that's happened that you or a person or anything that you want to put shine on, or to shut down anything that's lame and not exciting and that we don't and that we want to draw people's attention to, but like so that you don't do it again. So that is what the shout out or shutdown is. So I'll go ahead and let you go first, Rep Cross.
Okay. Well, this is I think, kind of breaking news, but I'm going to do a shout out to Congress for passing an extension of the Affordable Care Act subsidies. And I
Yeah.
believe 17 Republicans voted with the Democrats.
Oh,
So not everything is final there, but really important first steps.
yeah.
That is a critical issue. I have many constituents and people who have, you know, good paying jobs, people with multiple degrees and professionals who are purchasing their healthcare on the marketplace and saw premiums, double, triple, more than that. Holding on hope that, we'll get those subsidies to be extended and help people to have that a little more peace of mind.
Absolutely. Yeah, I did see that as I was rushing back home. I did see that
Mhm.
pop up that we got a 3-year extension in the House. So now we
Yes.
just need to get it passed in the Senate,
Mhm.
hopefully. But yeah, so it was excellent that they that is that. So, I am going to do. We'll go with my shout out. I'm gonna actually. I don't know. I'm just gonna do a. It's I don't- it's a. I guess it is a shout out. It's a shout out to everyone who's feeling it. Like especially today. Today we're talking on January 8th. It's the day that Renee Good was, the day after she was shot and murdered by Minneapolis police, or Minneapolis ICE, or not ICE. Oh my gosh. Okay. By ICE agents in Minneapolis when they were conducting a raid. She had just dropped off her kid at school. Her wife was in the car with her, or they had gotten out because they're legal observers. They're legal observers. And they were doing their duty of observing these stops when she was extrajudiciously murdered. So I just want to call out like the hard work of that, like people who do that scary work of legal observing. Like that is such to like You're normally just there, like, observing and taking notes and, um, putting it, doing just being the actual, like, eyes of the situation for history purposes, but she became part of the historical record today. And so I just wanna give a shout out to the people that do that work because obviously, as we've seen, it's not easy.
Absolutely. Prep Cross, you want to go next?
Nope, she already went, so it's your
I
turn.
did, you
Oh,
missed it.
I had my technical difficulties. My phone
I
overheated. My laptop camera won't work. Jesus, this is not my night. This is not
Oh,
my night.
no.
I'll go. I'll go. I was going to shut down what Laura was talking about, the ICE agent specifically, but I will give a shout out to all of our amazing Democratic reps and all of our amazing Democratic candidates that we have across the state. Um, it truly is amazing to see the people that are stepping up. A lot of young people, a
Mhm.
lot of millennials, even some Gen Z are stepping up to the plate. It's truly amazing to see that. And I want to shout out all of them. If you feel like you want to make a change, join a race. It doesn't matter what you run for. You could run for dog catcher. I don't care what it is. If you feel you want to make a change, run. Run for office. We've got plenty of people doing it. We've got a great state party that is working very hard to help Democratic candidates across the state as much as they can with the little resources that we're allotted. But just do what you can. Just if you feel like you want to get involved, do it. This is your sign. Take the plunge. Uh,
Or if you can't, if you're not ready to make that step, but you find someone in your area, your city council, your dog catcher, your state rep, your state senator, find one of those one of those closer elections and just support them. Send them $40. Like you, especially on the local and the state side, that $40 matters.
yeah,
Absolutely. Every
big
single
boards.
cent that they raise matters. Absolutely. The less PAC money that we have in politics, the better.
Yeah.
Exactly.
All right. Well, I am so sorry that I missed your shout out and shutdown. But it happens. It's life. It's technology. We got the show done. I am so thankful that you were able to join us. Thank you, thank you, thank you so much for being here tonight. And of course, thank you to your legislative aide for being so communicative and awesome on setting this up and making sure that we had all the information that we needed for that. So thank you, thank you, thank you.
Yes, I will do a shout out to my staff, to my district aide Jack and my legislative aide Andrea. They're fantastic. Couldn't do
Yes,
it without them.
absolutely.
Yay. All right, well, that's all we have for tonight. Please remember to like us on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. We're at For St. Pete's Sake. That's at For Saint. Sake. Subscribe to our podcast wherever you listen. And if you could leave a rating or a review, that would help boost us on the algorithm and get our help promote the pod. We'll be back next week with more stories from the people doing hard work to make our community better. Until next time, for St. Pete's sake, keep pushing for change.
Thanks, guys.